Okay, these bat wings were too funny to not have. Let me show you our next project. These amazing fall chalk pumpkins. Follow along with me and I'll show you all the steps to create your own. All right, to get started, we're going to draw 3 to 5 pumpkins, depending on how big they are. You might have 3 big ones or 5 smaller ones or 4. We are going to start making that pumpkin shape. We're going to push with our pencil on here to make kind of an oval shape. And then once we have that oval shape, we are going to add other oval shapes, kind of like a C shape, to make these nice, big, realistic pumpkins. Now at the top, we can put a little stem here. If you want kind of a wiggly, squiggly piece of vine, you can have that as well. Now we're going to have some pumpkins that might be touching or kind of hidden behind the big pumpkin. So I'm going to have, and this one was kind of a tall. If I want to have a shorter, wider one, I can do that. And then again, I'm just going to add that kind of C shape, and it's going to go right behind this pumpkin. All right, there's my second pumpkin. And now over here, mine is probably not going to be one that has room for 5 because I made those pretty big. So I'm going to sneak in a little guy over here. But you can be making your pumpkins however you would like. This guy's going to be a little shorty guy. Maybe I'll have a leaf come out of here. So I've got my pumpkins going across. I want to add some little grass texture. I could have some grass texture kind of poking out between the pumpkins. We are going to be covering all of these lines with glue, so I don't want to make my lines very tiny because tiny details with glue is difficult. So I'm thinking I might have just kind of a little patch here, a little patch of grass here, and I might have some little patches of grass kind of coming between my pumpkins. And that way I have some texture down here where my grass will be. Perfect. We now have our outline to cover with the glue. All right, our regular glue bottles, they clog. These bottles that I have don't clog, but if you squeeze too hard, you're gonna get way too much glue. So this is a matter of being very careful and making sure that you are not blobbing the glue everywhere. The other thing you wanna do is make sure you start top to bottom so you're not sticking your arm through the glue. So we're gonna start here, and I am barely letting out any glue. But the great thing about these containers is they don't clog, and so it's really easy to get the glue to come out. And as you can see right there, I got a little bubble. No worries, I can just go right on through it. All right, you see what we're doing. We're just going over each pencil line with a thin line of glue. If you're putting the glue on really heavy, what's going to happen is it's going to take forever to dry, and it's going to spread out, and instead of being a nice skinny line, it's going to be a big old blob. So we are just going to very carefully go and cover each pencil line with the thinnest line we can of glue. All right, we have carefully gone over every line with the thinnest line of glue we could, and we are going to also very carefully hold from both sides and slide it on the drying rack for us to work on next time. All right, that glue is nice and dry, so it's time for us to add color. Now, I like to keep just a little wet wipe because our fingers are going to get pretty messy. Make sure that you're only using 1 or 2 fingers for blending and not your whole hand, and it won't be as messy. For the sky, if we want to do kind of a sunset, but at night, like a nighttime glow, we're going to be using some cool colors. We're going to look for some purples, maybe some fuchsia. We could do dark blue, dark purple. You could just paint your sky one color like dark blue, but if you add some colors together and do some blending, that's what's going to look really neat. So I like to start at the top of my paper so I'm not reaching up and getting chalk all over my arms. So behind my pumpkin, and I'm just kind of staying away like on that glue line, like around the edge here, I can start with some of the lighter purple. And I would continue this all the way over, but I'll just do a section to show you. And then I could try some of this beautiful kind of reddish purple. And you don't have to color it perfectly. You can see I'm leaving a little space because when I go to blend, that is going to fill in that space. Then I can do some blue and then my purple. So right now it's not really impressive, but once we go back, now the other thing is to not just blend till you wipe all the chalk off. A lot of people do that and then you lose color. So we're just doing like a little light blending around, filling in that black space, melting the colors together. That's what makes this look so beautiful. Is now it's gone from, oh, that looks okay, to like, whoa, look at this glowing sky behind my pumpkins. This looks amazing. And so you could choose some different combinations. It is totally up to you. I'm going to do this across my whole sky all the way down, and then down here will be my grass, and then I'll color the pumpkins. Other combinations you might use some blues and maybe some turquoise in your sky. You're kind of thinking about colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So if you did turquoise, a lighter blue, darker blue, and purple, this could be a great combination. But you're wanting to kind of layer your colors up and blend. All right, look at that beautiful nighttime glowing sky. Now we're going to go down and we're going to start working on our pumpkins, and we can also fill in on the stems and leaves. So for your leaves, you can use some different greens. And again, just blending. And I've got this little white near me, so then as I kind of finish with one color, I can go back and change it up a little, so I don't have chalk all over my hands. But it always looks good to use a couple different colors of chalk. So you can see I'm not using just one brown. I'm using a little bit of orange and some lighter brown, darker brown. And it's just going to make it have a little more character and dimension. And I'm not rubbing till I get all the color off. I'm just rubbing a little bit to blend it. Okay, now with our pumpkins, we want to do some yellow for the highlights where the light is kind of shining on them. So there's going to be a lot of layering of color. We can add some darker yellow. Now there's going to be more shadow at the bottom of our pumpkin, so we can come in with our darker orange down here, and a little bit at the top. And then we can also add this kind of darker shadow color along the edge. And we can even take a little red And shadow along the bottom. And look at all those great colors we've got together to make this really 3D looking pumpkin. Now, I'm gonna take my finger and gently blend, not rubbing till I get all the color off. If I sat here and did this, eventually it would go back to black. We don't wanna get rid of it. We're just doing some blending. That is looking amazing. And you can make each pumpkin slightly different. Maybe one pumpkin over here will be a little bit darker. Maybe some of them will have more highlights. It's totally up to you. I could even come back and add a little highlight here to really get that 3D look. All right. I can see that chalk dust is kind of going everywhere. You can tip your paper and just kind of brush some of that off. Finish your blending. That looks amazing. Let's go ahead and do all of the pumpkins. All right, we've got a beautiful sky, our amazing pumpkins. The last thing to do is add some different shades of green, or you could add some browns to your grasses down here. So we're just gonna add some different greens. We've got some different grass lines, so you might kind of separate as you go, some different textures and colors. So just kind of go through and add your greens how you would like them. And we have lots of different shades to add some dimension. All right, and once I get all that color on, I'll give it a good blend. All right, with a little blending, this is really coming around. You can add some texture if you want. You can add some shadow if you want underneath your pumpkin where it might be a little darker. And once you are done adding color and blending, then these fall pumpkins are done. That looks amazing. I cannot wait to see the chalk pumpkins you create.